Hello and welcome to 3 Minute Gaming. I'm Nathan, and today I'm going to tell you if this game's worth your time and bandwidth. Today's game is Airborne Kingdom. Build a city in the clouds and travel the world in this city sim meets exploration game. Is it worth joining the Mile High Club? Let's find out. Airborne Kingdom is a city management game about a flying city that moves around the world to different biomes vying for world peace. And in a weird coincidence, I played both this and The Wandering Village in the same week thanks to Game Pass. I mean, it's not really relevant to this review, just how often do I play two mobile city builders in 1 week? Anyway, you've got the world's only city in the clouds to manage an Airborne Kingdom, with the overall goal being to unite 14 ground-locked nations in a procedurally generated world. To accomplish this, you'll need to build a pretty decent city of your own, as well as traverse the world sucking up resources and recruiting new people to stay afloat. The game is split between two modes of play, managing your city and traversing and exploring. City building is fairly basic, and while you will need to build paths for buildings to operate, aside from that, you don't need to worry too much about worker access or pathfinding or whatever. Instead, your focus is more on making sure your city doesn't fall out of the sky and your citizens are happy. For the aerodynamic portions, you'll need to balance your city out, aka don't build everything on one side or you'll try spinning, which in this case is not a good trick. You also need to not be so heavy that you plummet to the ground, so you'll need to build things like fans and wings to keep things both balanced and airborne. Your residents also have needs, mostly around not being next to industry and having religious buildings near them to be happy. They also, of course, need to eat and drink, so you'll need those reserves as well. These workers are crucial as they'll not only man buildings to do things like improve tech or process raw goods into usable stuff, but you'll also need them to jump on some small planes and travel to the surface to scoop up a large number of randomly generated resources. It is a balancing act, both literally and figuratively, but nothing too overwhelming. Resources like food and water decline very slowly, and as long as you plan your routes somewhat strategically, you'll have no issue. Speaking of routes, that's the other portion, exploring the world. As mentioned, there's resources to find along the way, and how fast you go is based on how much crap you have in your city, and you can upgrade that speed with things like propellers. You'll need to keep an eye out on your fuel reserve usage, lest you get stranded, but again, it's pretty lenient. When you visit a ground-based kingdom, they'll usually have 2 requests before they'll be your buddy, often involving either sending people and resources down to help them build something, or traveling nearby to pick something up. Once you're buddies, you'll get some new followers, as well as a steady supply of free resources. Lather, rinse, repeat this 14 times, and you've brought about world peace. And that's the gist of Airborne Kingdom, a fairly lightweight, pun intended, city building game with a fun side task of world traversal and exploration. So what do I like about Airborne Kingdom? Well, this game is really chill and really addicting, with it never being too difficult, but still having enough stuff to want to improve on and optimize that I wanted to keep going and explore the world further. Additionally, I really like this game's premise and writing overall. The idea that this is a chill game where you are making friends with kingdoms and generally just having a nice time is pretty refreshing. And lastly, I also really like this game's aesthetic, especially how the biomes separate with looks like pieces of paper curling up, and the whole game has kind of a soft atmosphere that works well with its very mellow gameplay. When it comes to the bad, this game is pretty simple overall, with it never hitting a point where I absolutely had to do something lest I'd fail, meaning the whole experience is good, but it never really peaks. Additionally, the game does have some weird UX and UI stuff, mostly around trying to figure out how to get my villagers to be jubilant, as well as it being hard to see where resources are thanks to the stylistic landscape. And lastly, it might be just me, but I thought this game was a nightmare to play on the controller, which in this case, the easy difficulty does mitigate some of that. But if you do have a PC, I do think that is the optimal way to give this game a shot. As you know, I rate games on a 3-point scale. Must play, maybe consider, and don't bother. And I think Airborne Kingdom is definitely a maybe consider, but is a bit of a hidden gem, as it is a charming and engaging little game that manages to stay light and breezy from beginning to end. While it doesn't offer a ton of challenge, what it does offer is a lot of fun for its short runtime. If you enjoy city builders but don't like it when they're too complex, and are curious to see a few unique twists along the way, Airborne Kingdom is definitely worth checking out. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you played Airborne Kingdom, did you play Wandering Village? Did you play them both in the same week like me? Let me know what you think about all this in the comments, and then regardless, maybe go out there and give Airborne Kingdom a look.